We require new insights for our upcoming launch, she clarified when I was fired. Someone who is aware of the latest trends in the market. For 7 years, I've been the main product designer at ARC from Outdoor Gear in Minneapolis. My name is Tyler, and I am 41 years old. Or I was, until Elena summoned me to her office on Thursday morning when Heather from Human Resource was already sat next to her. For months, I had sensed it was coming. Everything I designed, even if it was functional, long-lasting, and made for real mountains, suddenly wasn't progressive enough after Elena took over as creative director and brought her glossy magazine image to our tough outdoor business. With immaculately manicured nails that had never held a climbing rope, Elena said, "Your work lacks the innovation we need moving forward." She then shoved the termination papers toward me. I nodded while maintaining a neutral expression. My ideas of the previous 7 years have established this company's reputation among serious outdoor enthusiasts. I designed the backpacks for the Pathfinder series. I was the winner of 2 international design prizes for the modular jacket system. Now, however, none of that mattered. I packed my sketchbooks, unplugged my tablet, thanked her for the feedback, and left. Elena was unaware that I had been secretly building a portfolio during my free time. Designs that Arcform has turned down because they were too avant-garde or didn't fit our target market. I still had faith in the designs. This place just made the biggest mistake of its corporate life. Brian from product development texted me as I was driving home. At my grandfather's workbench in Duluth, I gained knowledge of design. He taught me how shape determined function by building me personalized wooden kayaks. Just purpose made tangible, no extraneous details, no wasted space. I continued that mindset into my profession and into design school. They were having trouble when I joined Arcform. Good products with subpar execution of the design. I completely revamped their style from the ground up. James, the CEO at the time, was aware of what I was doing. He had stated, "Make things that work first, then that look good. Those who really use our equipment will notice." He was correct. We increased our sales in 3 years because the product addressed genuine issues outdoor fans had faith in the brand. The Pathfinder backpack line balanced weight distribution so perfectly that professional guides specifically requested them for extended treks. The thermal shift jacket system adapted to temperature changes without adding bulk. Award-winning innovation born from understanding actual needs. Then James retired. The company brought in Vivian as CEO, who hired Elena from the fashion industry to elevate the brand. Suddenly, meetings were about aesthetic direction rather than performance specs. My designs were questioned, then sidelined. The newer designers, mostly fresh graduates with digital portfolios but no field experience, started getting the prime projects. 3 months ago, I submitted concepts for our next generation of weatherproof gear. Elena dismissed them as uninspired. The following week, I saw her present remarkably similar concepts to the executive team, credited to Justin, her recent hire from a luxury brand. That night, I called Thomas, an old friend who'd moved to Ridgeline Supply, Arcform's biggest competitor, as their materials specialist. "How's your contract looking these days?" he asked after I explained the situation. "No non-compete," I replied. James thought they were unethical. Thomas went quiet for a moment. "Interesting. Very interesting." The termination package was generous enough: 3 months' salary and extended benefits. Professional courtesy for 7 years of service. I signed the papers without argument and drove home in silence. My apartment felt different that afternoon, smaller yet somehow more open. I sat at my drafting table and spread out the sketches Elena had rejected over the past year. There were 12 collections in total, each one meticulously detailed, each solving specific problems for serious outdoor enthusiasts. Rain tapped against the window as I studied them. I'd been designing as if I still worked for the old Arcform, the one that valued function and durability. But that company didn't exist anymore. It had become something else, chasing trends instead of serving needs. My phone rang at 7 p.m. Melissa Hargrove, creative director at Ridgeline Supply, Thomas mentioned you're available, she said without preamble. Says you're the real talent behind Artform's golden years. I said nothing, just waited. Got anything worth looking at? She continued. We're planning our fall collection. Could use some fresh thinking. I looked down at my rejected concepts. I might have a few ideas. Send them over tonight. If they're good, we should talk. After we hung up, I spent 3 hours refining 6 designs, not changing the core concepts, just sharpening the presentations. At midnight, I emailed them to Melissa with simple notes explaining the functionality behind each one. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. Next morning, I woke to an email from Melissa. My office. 10 a.m., bring your contract terms. I showered, dressed in my field jacket and boots rather than office clothes, and drove to Ridgeline's headquarters across town. The receptionist led me straight to Melissa's office, a space cluttered with material samples and prototype gear, not sleek and minimal like Elena's. Melissa gestured to a corkboard where she'd pinned printouts of all 6 of my designs. You solve problems we've been chasing for 2 seasons, she said simply. Especially this one. She tapped the centerpiece of my collection, a modular weatherproof system that adapted to different conditions without sacrificing mobility. How soon can you start? She asked. I'm available now. She nodded once. Good, because we're going to move fast on these. Very fast. For the first time since Elena arrived at Artform, I smiled. 1 week into my new position at Ridgeline, I got a call from Peter, Artform's production manager. We worked closely together for years, solving manufacturing challenges, finding the balance between innovative design and practical production. Tyler, this is unofficial, he said quietly. But things are falling apart. Justin's designs look good in renderings, but they're a nightmare to manufacture. Materials don't flex the way he thinks they should. The prototype backpacks are coming in 2 pounds heavier than specified. Not my problem anymore, I replied, though a part of me still cared. Elena's claiming you left the team without proper documentation on your production processes, Peter continued. She's telling executive leadership that you sabotaged the transition. That made me sit up straight. That's a lie. I know, but she's convincing. Vivian asked me if there was any merit to it. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about moving on. Elena was actively undermining my professional reputation. Against my better judgment, I emailed Vivian requesting a meeting to clear the air. She agreed to coffee the next morning. The cafe was busy, which I thought would be good, neutral territory public place. Vivian arrived 10 minutes late, already looking at her watch. I'll be direct, I began. I've heard Elena suggesting I deliberately left the team without proper documentation. That's not true. All my files are organized in the shared drive, and I personally trained Justin on my process before I left. Vivian nodded, her expression unreadable. She mentioned you might get defensive about this. Look, Tyler, the outdoor industry is small. I'd hate to see your reputation damaged by this unpleasantness. The threat was thinly veiled. Stay quiet, or they would make this difficult for me. I appreciate your concern, I said carefully. I'd hate for Artform to waste production resources on designs that can't actually be manufactured effectively. Her eyes narrowed slightly. We'll manage our production challenges internally. Thank you. I do hope you'll be discreet about company matters going forward. As she left, my phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Contract's ready. We want to move fast on your weatherproof collection. I looked back at Vivian's retreating figure. She had no idea what was coming. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from Artform's legal department. They were reviewing my employment history regarding potential confidentiality concerns. The letter carefully avoided making direct accusations, but implied I might have violated company policies. I showed it to Melissa, who immediately handed it to Ridgeline's legal team. Standard intimidation tactic, their counsel explained after reviewing it. They have no case. The designs you're creating for us are original, and you had no non-compete clause. They're trying to scare you into backing down. Should I respond? I asked. No, we'll handle it. That evening, the lawyer sent a simple, devastating reply to Arcform. We have extensive documentation of Mr. Graves' rejected designs by your company, along with the dates they were submitted and subsequently dismissed. We would welcome the opportunity to compare those with your current product development timeline in court. 2 days passed with no further communication from Arcform. Then Peter called again. What did you do? He asked. Elena had a closed-door meeting with legal and she came out looking like she'd seen a ghost. I said nothing. Just watch your back, he warned. She's not giving up. He invited me to lunch. We met at a burger place downtown, far from both our company's headquarters. You need to see this, he said, sliding his tablet across the table after ordering. It displayed Arcform's internal marketing brief for their fall collection. Somehow Thomas had gotten his hands on it. I scrolled through and stopped cold when I saw the mock-ups. They were my designs, the exact concepts Elena had rejected 6 months ago, now rebranded as the Elevation series, with Justin's name listed as lead designer. They're planning to launch in September, Thomas said quietly. Full marketing push. They've already ordered materials. The realization hit like a physical blow. She rejected these designs knowing she'd use them later. She just didn't want me to get the credit. Thomas nodded. Looks that way. But here's something else you should know. He took the tablet back, opening another document. Ridgeline is planning to fast-track your collection. Melissa convinced the CEO to move up production. They can have your designs on the market by August. I sat back, processing this. A month before Arcform launches? Yes, and with proper attribution to you as designer. Thomas looked me straight in the eye. But you need to decide now. Once production starts, there's no turning back. I didn't hesitate. Let's do it. That evening, I called Melissa and formally accepted Ridgeline's accelerated timeline. The contract included something Artform had never offered: royalties on each unit sold with my designs, plus create control of the final production specifications. We're calling it the Summit Series, Melissa explained, and we want your name featured in the marketing. 2 days later, I signed the paperwork in Ridgeline's headquarters and handed over my complete design files. Not just concepts, but detailed production specifications, material requirements, and manufacturing guidelines. When I got home, there was an email from Elena in my personal inbox. Tyler, I hope this message finds you well. I was reviewing some of our upcoming designs and realized we might benefit from your expertise in a consulting capacity. Would you be open to discussing this? I deleted it without responding. The following week, I toured Ridgeline's manufacturing facility with their production team. They had never attempted anything like my modular system before. Components that worked independently but functioned best as a cohesive unit. The lead engineer, Diane, pulled me aside after the tour. These designs are revolutionary, she said bluntly, but they're also complex as hell to manufacture. If we're really hitting the August deadline, I need you in this facility every day. Whatever it takes, I told her. For the next month, I worked 16-hour days. I slept on a cot in the facility office twice when we were testing waterproofing systems. The production team grew to respect me when they saw I understood the practical challenges they faced. Unlike Elena, I didn't dismiss manufacturing concerns as someone else's problem. Halfway through the process, I received another email from Vivian. We should discuss your current activities for your own professional future. Another threat, another attempt to control what they'd thrown away. I forwarded it to Ridgeline's legal team without comment and kept working. Ridgeline moved with astonishing speed. Within 3 weeks, they had prototypes of my weatherproof collection. I spent days in their workshop fine-tuning details, working directly with their production team to ensure every specification was perfect. The Summit series consisted of 5 interconnected products: a modular backpack, all-weather outerwear with removable components, adaptable footwear, ergonomic camping equipment, specialized accessories. Each piece worked independently but functioned best as a system, something I had been trying to get Arcform to understand for years. Melissa brought me into marketing meetings, something Elena had never done, and listened when I explained the practical benefits that should be highlighted. These aren't fashion statements, I told their team. They're tools for people who depend on their gear in extreme conditions. In late July, whispers started circulating in the industry. Retailers who'd gotten preview samples of the Summit series were impressed. Online forums buzzed with speculation about Ridgeline's unexpected direction. Then came the call from Peter at Arcform. "Tyler, did you—" He stopped abruptly. "Never mind. I shouldn't be asking. What's happening over there?" I asked, though I could guess. Vivian saw Ridgeline's preview catalog. Peter said quietly, "The Summit series is remarkable. Elena is in full panic mode, claiming they stole concept from us." I remained silent. "The thing is," Peter continued, "we both know these aren't stolen from Arcform's current concepts. They're your original designs. The ones Elena rejected, aren't they?" "I can't comment on that," I replied carefully. "You don't have to," Peter said. "Your name is on them, clear as day in the catalog. Designed by Tyler Graves, former lead designer at Arcform. It's brilliant." The following day, Vivian herself called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was terse. "This is unprofessional. We should discuss the situation immediately." Instead, I drove to Ridgeline's headquarters for the final product launch meeting. The marketing campaign was ready. The manufacturing lines were set. In 2 weeks, the Summit series would hit specialized retailers nationwide, 1 month ahead of Arcform's planned launch, a suspiciously similar elevation series. The night before our launch, I couldn't sleep. 7 years at Arcform, countless prototypes, hundreds of sketches. All that work had led to this moment. Not the way I'd expected, but maybe the way it needed to happen. At 5 a.m., unable to rest, I drove to a trail outside the city. The same trail where I tested many of my early Arcform designs. Dawn was breaking as I hiked to the ridge. The air was cool and damp, exactly the conditions my weatherproof system was designed to handle. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa. "It's live. Website just went up. First orders already coming in." I stood on that ridge watching the sunrise, feeling a strange mix of vindication and sadness. I hadn't wanted it to end this way with Arcform. I'd given that company everything, but they'd chosen Elena's vision over mine, style over substance. Now the market would decide which approach was right. By the time I hiked back to my car, I had 17 missed calls from unknown numbers, outdoor journalists, industry bloggers, and gear reviewers, all trying to get the story behind Ridgeline's surprising new collection. And one message from Elena: "You've made a serious mistake." I finally called her back. "No," I said when she answered. "You did." The Summit series launched on August 12th. By noon, Ridgeline's website had crashed twice from traffic volume. Their customer service lines were flooded with retailer calls trying to increase their orders. I watched it unfold from Melissa's office as outdoor magazines and gear reviewers published their advanced reviews. Revolutionary. Game-changing. Sets a new standard. My name appeared in every article. 3 days after the launch, Outside Magazine ran a feature comparing the Summit series to leaked images of Arcform's upcoming Elevation series. The headline said it all. Separated at Earth. The curious case of identical product lines. The article didn't explicitly accuse Arcform of theft, but it raised questions about the timeline, noting that I had designed both collections, though Arcform was crediting Justin for their version. Outdoor forums exploded with speculation. Industry insiders who knew me from trade shows connected the dots immediately. Social media filled with side-by-side comparisons and pointed questions about intellectual property. Vivian called again. This time I answered. "This is completely unacceptable," she began without greeting. "You've deliberately undermined our company. I designed products for a company that hired me to do exactly that. I replied calmly, "Product you're now selling under someone else's name. We'll need to discuss legal options," she threatened. "That would be interesting," I said. "I have emails from Elena rejecting these exact designs 6 months ago. What would a court make of the fact that you're now producing them with someone else's name attached?" Silence stretched between us. "You should value what you had," I added quietly. "Good luck with your launch." The following week, Arcform announced they were postponing the release of their Elevation series for additional refinement. Industry analysts saw it for what it was, a retreat. By October, the Summit series had broken all previous first-quarter sales records for Ridgeline. My royalty checks reflected the success, already exceeding my annual salary at Arcform. Melissa promoted me to design director, giving me a team of 6 designers and complete creative control over our next 3 seasonal collections. Thomas transferred from materials to join my department as technical advisor. Arcform eventually released a hastily redesigned collection that bore little resemblance to my work. The reviews were lukewarm. Their stock price dropped 8% the following quarter. I ran into Elena at an industry conference in Denver that winter. She was at the bar alone, nursing a drink as I walked past. "Congratulations on your success," she said, stopping me. Her voice carried no warmth. I nodded but said nothing. "You could have stayed and fought for your designs," she added. "Why didn't you?" I considered this for a moment. Some places don't deserve the fight. She flinched slightly, then composed herself. "Vivian is stepping down next month. The board asked me to take over temporarily." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Good luck," I said and meant it. The industry needs strong companies. 6 months later, I received an unexpected package. It contained all my original sketchbooks from my time at Arcform, along with a handwritten note from Peter. "These belong to you. Elena's gone. Just thought you should know." I opened one book to a concept I'd drawn 3 years earlier, a modular tent system for extreme weather conditions. Something I'd never shown Elena. That evening, I called Melissa. "I have an idea for our winter collection," I said. The following spring, Ridgeline stock value had doubled. Arcform announced they were restructuring under new leadership. I didn't follow the news too closely. I was too busy designing what came next. Sometimes at night, I still think about my years at Arcform, not with bitterness anymore, but with clarity. They taught me something valuable, just not what they intended. In this industry and life, your work speaks for itself when given a chance. Elena tried to silence mine, but in doing so, she only amplified its voice. The best revenge wasn't in proving her wrong. It was in finally finding a place that recognized what I had known all along. That good design isn't about following trends. It's about solving real problems for real people. And that, in the end, is what endures. In our second year of marriage, I believed that we were still a young couple. We only made the commitment to stay together forever 2 years ago. Her casual statement, "I'm pregnant," chilled me to the bone. My employer is her baby daddy. Before we have children, I want to take some time to enjoy our new married life. I couldn't get those words out of my thoughts. I'm John Smith, and this year was my 30th birthday. My spouse, Emily, and I are wed. We met at work 2 years ago. Although we worked for the same firm, we were in different departments. She was so gorgeous, I thought every time we walked past each other in the elevator or hallway of our office building. I was so thrilled to meet her through a coworker that I wanted to give a triumphant fist pump. I made sure not to blow this chance because I had been waiting for one to speak with Emily. I read every book she suggested, and I saw every movie she suggested. My attempts to bridge the gap between us began to bear fruit gradually. Emily seemed to have a boyfriend at the time, but I never really inquired about it. It was how I expressed that it didn't matter. In retrospect, I'm proud of my own perseverance. Emily is now a homemaker who voluntarily quit her job. Having someone look after the house makes me happy. Emily leads a nice life by going to workshops on floral design and cooking, as well as having lunch with friends. After 2 years of marriage, my parents asked me if I wanted grandchildren. There was an astonishing incident. I thought Emily must have been lonely with all my business, so I was excited to leave work on time after a hectic season of overtime days. On my way home, I purchased her favorite cake. For the next long weekend, I have a quick excursion planned. I picked up some tour brochures from a travel agency near the station for local attractions. I even ordered takeaway so Emily wouldn't have to prepare dinner.
I'm home. I managed to get back early today.
As I spoke to her while putting off my shoes in the foyer, Emily came sprinting from down the corridor. She seems taken aback by my early arrival home. I gave her favorite cake and said that I had placed an order for takeaway, but Emily seemed strange. Emily, is something wrong? As I handed over the suit jacket to Emily, I asked her a question. Emily nodded slightly in response.
She had a rather solemn expression on her face.
As I took a seat in the living room, Emily sat down in front of me, then she uttered the unbelievable words, "I'm pregnant, so I want us to separate." It was like being struck in the back of the head with a blunt object. I never imagined such words would come out of Emily's mouth. Emily and I did not have any children. It was Emily who convinced me it was too soon for us to have kids, even though I wanted them right after we got married. She said she wanted us to enjoy our new marriage life for a while, and I thought I should respect her feelings, so I promised I'd be patient for her. We were careful for 2 years. So what's this new life growing inside her now?
Let's get a divorce. It's for the sake of the child.
I never wanted to hear "for the sake of the child" from Emily, especially not in this situation. I thought it was a phrase we'd use happily together as a couple. Emily looked at me with her face expressionless, but it seemed her mind was made up about the divorce.
Please sign this. For the sake of my child, let's get a divorce.
Emily spread a document in front of me. It was a divorce paper, already signed by Emily. In the witness section, her parents' signatures were there, so she had already discussed it with her parents. I wanted to demand to know who the baby father is, but I couldn't lose my composure here. I have my pride, too. "You're serious about this?" When I asked, Emily nodded firmly. After that, I just remember focusing on not letting my hand shake as I held the pen. After I signed the divorce paper, she carefully folded it as if it were something precious. She seemed to have packed already, grabbing a large suitcase and heading to the door. I couldn't think of anything to say to Emily as she was about to leave. She never looked back at me. I could tell from her expression that she had no feelings left for me. In the twilight, she walked away, pulling her carry-on bag. All I could do was watch Emily walking away. That night, I drank alone and fell asleep. I caught a cold because I passed out drunk in the living room. I got a headache and chills, different from a hangover. I called my workplace early to let them know. I told them I'd take the day off too. I'm not feeling well. Reflecting on last night, I wondered if it was all just a dream. However, on the living room table, there was the liquor bottle and that pen. It wasn't a dream. Emily really betrayed me and left. Facing this reality again, my heart ached deeply, and I truly realized the same love can quickly turn to hate. I can't believe how much I've grown to hate Emily, whom I once loved so dearly.
I need to find out who the baby father is.
With that thought, I spent the day going through the belongings Emily left behind. The ring and bracelet I gave her when we were dating were still in the jewelry box. I found the wedding ring in the trash can. How Emily felt when she threw it away like that, the mere thought made me feel dizzy. I spent the entire day looking for clues about her baby father, but all I got was my fever getting higher, feeling like I might begin to lose my mind if I don't keep busy.
So I tirelessly rummaged through her things.
Given my situation, there was no way I could have bounced back in just one day.
In the end, I wound up taking a whole week off from work.
When I finally felt well enough to return for some reason, my coworkers already knew about my divorce.
I hadn't even told General Affairs yet.
"Feeling better, Smith?" Getting sick over a mere divorce, man, you're soft. My direct boss, whom we'll call Turner, came over to my side and started to smirk.
Turner always nitpicks me about the stupidest things.
I never did take to his slightly arrogant looks, and the way he carries himself always feels so theatrical. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Just as I'm thinking how unlucky I am to have him as a boss, I notice he mentions divorce.
Come to think of it, I suddenly remember that Turner and Emily used to work in the same department before we got married.
Wait a minute, didn't Emily tell you when you guys were getting a divorce? Or were you too prideful to ask?
Turner said mockingly, and suddenly all the pieces clicked into place.
Are you Emily's baby father? Turner, I asked in a hushed tone.
He jokingly responded, "Yep, that's right."
He was clearly making a fool out of me. For a moment, I didn't even realize what I had done.
The next thing I knew, Turner was sprawled backward over the desk and chair.
My clenched fist throbbed with pain. Chaos ensued as though a big party had erupted. Some tried to help Turner, while others tried to hold me back. All the while, Turner, who I had just punched, just kept laughing. He was laughing at the predicament I was in.
He had set me up. Turner is the grandson of the founder of this company. I had just punched a top executive. Naturally, I was suspended, and soon after, I got fired. I became an unemployed man, dumped by my wife. My life spiraled out of control. To make a living, I needed to start job hunting. I knew it in my head, but I just couldn't seem to follow through with action. I started drinking in the afternoon and then continued deep into the night. Is this what they mean by hitting rock bottom? I had no motivation to do anything. The one silver lining was that I had some savings. I wanted to pat my past self on the back for saving diligently. About a month into this rut, an unexpected visitor showed up at my doorstep. At first, I pretended I wasn't home, but 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. I ignored it again, but an hour later, it rang once more. Annoyed, I opened the door to find a woman I didn't recognize. She stood tall, staring intently at me. I felt judged and quickly looked away.
Excuse me.
The woman staring at me had a dignified presence and a face full of determination. Suddenly, I felt embarrassed about reeking of booze. I hadn't even shaved. "Are you the ex-husband of that woman?" I was taken aback by her blunt opening. She didn't beat around the bush. She was Turner's wife. That woman she referred to was probably Emily. Before I could mumble an answer, the woman deeply bowed her head. She introduced herself as Lorraine Turner. Just as I imagined, she is Turner's wife. My neighbor ladies passed by, sneaking glances at us. I can't deal with these gossip-loving folks. "Well, please come on in." I quickly invited Lorraine inside, worrying about the rumors that might spread. She replied with a polite, "Excuse me," and entered without hesitation. Of course, I hadn't cleaned up at all. As I led her through my messy living room, she silently began picking up trash. I can clean that up myself. In this state, you can't have a proper conversation. If you can't help, just sit. She shut me down. So I sat down on the couch. I watched in shock as she tidied up one thing after another. "Why don't you go wash your face?" Startled by her suggestion, I retreated to the bathroom. I quickly washed my face. Seeing my reflection after such a long time startled me. I washed my face and shaved my beard. I also washed and styled my hair. I finally felt a bit human again. When I returned to the living room, the cleaning was done. Trash bags full of garbage were lined up in the hallway. I made use of the kitchen. Saying so, she offered me a cup of tea. Lorraine seemed quite reliable for being Turner's wife. "Thanks. I feel a bit more human now." To my surprise, I sincerely thanked her. A slight smile appeared on Lorraine's face upon hearing my words, but the very next moment, her smile faded. "My husband wants a divorce. He said it's because he's having a child." She went straight to the point. "She probably doesn't like tedious stories. I've been told the same by my wife. were already divorced. When I said it's none of my business anymore, she let out a big sigh. It seems like Andrew's cheating is a recent thing. The previous affair scandal was settled with money, and it seems that the other party was Emily before, too. After receiving the settlement, Emily quickly married me, Lorraine said. She was told that Emily married me as proof that her relationship with Andrew was over. This time, it seems Emily wasn't going to settle for money. From the tone of Lorraine's voice, I thought she still loved Andrew. She probably wants to eliminate Emily from the picture. Let me get this straight. Do you want to get back with Andrew after all this? Twice he cheated with the same woman, and now they even have a child. Would you still claim to such a man? Asked about the possibility of not divorcing, Lorraine looked somewhat surprised. Her expression was as if the idea of divorce hadn't even crossed her mind. You think you can start over from this? I admit it was a bit of a mean way to put it, but her demeanor and reactions piqued my interest. I want to know how Lorraine would respond. She chuckled lightly and said, "Well, we are married after all." For some reason, I felt engulfed by a sense of defeat. In the end, I decided to send Lorraine home that day and agreed to talk things over again later. The day after Lorraine visited, Andrew showed up. He had apparently heard from Lorraine that she had visited me yesterday. Since he was a former boss, I reluctantly let him into the living room. Andrew then looked around the living room and laughed. "Is something funny? This Lorraine tidied up, didn't she?" Andrew said with a laugh that seemed to find the whole situation amusing. I hadn't noticed, but apparently, the way things were tidied up had her signature all over it. It irked me how they seemed to exude this understanding married couple vibe. When I asked her what he wanted, Andrew said he had a favor to ask of me. He wanted me to convince Lorraine to divorce him, which caught me completely off guard. According to Andrew, Lorraine couldn't have children. He liked kids, and there was the issue of an heir. It was a stroke of luck that Emily got pregnant, he said. If I could persuade Lorraine to agree to a divorce, he'd reward me and place a thick envelope in front of me. His attitude of trying to solve everything with money made me nauseous. I want kids, you know. It's not possible with Lorraine. I reached my limit at Andrew's words. I grabbed him by the collar, but he was still smiling. Maybe he thought he wouldn't get hit. Twice, just as I was about to swing my fist, a soft hand gently enveloped my raised fist. Is he even worth hitting? My husband. Lorraine said she had followed Andrew. The front door was wide open. That's careless. As I lowered my raised fist, I replied, "Yes." Using momentum, I let go of the collar I had been holding. "You want a child, don't you?" Lorraine looked up at Andrew and muttered. As Andrew nodded, she took out a document from her bag. It was a green paper, a divorce form. "Does this make you happy?" Lorraine held out the divorce form to Andrew and smiled. Her smile was so hauntingly beautiful. It seemed like a smile that could forgive everything or send someone straight to hell. Andrew's fingers gently stroked the back of Lorraine's hand as he took the divorce form. Feeling like I had seen something I shouldn't have, I quickly looked away. "Thank you." Andrew left after saying that and quickly walked towards the front door. "Now we're enemies, Andrew. Be prepared." Andrew waved without looking back. His words seemed like he acknowledged your declaration of war. Watching Andrew leave, Lorraine turned to look at me. "So, shall we lick our wounds? But first, let's get our revenge." Lorraine and I separately demanded compensation from Andrew and Emily. They are loaded. They'd probably pay no matter how much we ask. I told the lawyer I want everything processed at the same time. The reason I did it simultaneously was to make them as uncomfortable as possible. This kind of revenge might be seen as just a game. After demanding compensation, Emily finally came crying. Andrew seems willing to pay his share of the compensation, but not the part Emily is being asked for. They aren't married yet, so it's to be expected, but there seem to be other issues. At a meeting with the four of us, Andrew started saying that Emily cheating was partly my fault too. He claimed it was a result of making her feel lonely by always being at work. You sure have a way with words, but it won't work on me. What Lorraine took out was a report on Andrew's background investigation. Apparently, it was commissioned by Andrew's parents. Emily and Andrew had a relationship even before I got married. Emily once received a breakup fee and distanced herself, but they continued their relationship in secret. Seems she married me as a camouflage, suggested by Andrew. I love my job and can be a bit oblivious at times. For the two of them, having an oblivious husband was convenient. Plus, since I work with Andrew, they could keep an eye on me. The report Andrew's parents paid for was incredibly detailed. Lorraine read out the contents calmly. The faces of Andrew and Emily gradually turned pale. Emily was the first to crack. Crying, she started lashing out. "Stop it, please. If you keep up this ruckus, it won't be good for the baby, you know." Emily shuddered at Lorraine's cold reprimand, gazed upon by Lorraine's icy stare. Emily eventually fainted right there. Andrew hurriedly held Emily, to which Lorraine smirked. Giving up already? What a pity. I think Lorraine genuinely loved Andrew. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin. The depth of love matches the depth of hatred. Andrew seemed to understand that too. In the end, I didn't get a chance to say much, and Lorraine dominated the entire discussion. At last, Lorraine said to me, "That's a wrap," with a smile afterwards. The reason for my divorce became everyone's knowledge at work. I was the one who had leaked it to a colleague. The company wanted to sweep it under the rug, but it was already too late. In the end, Andrew was pushed into a dead-end job and lost his place both at work and within the family. Emily, who remarried, is struggling with her mother-in-law. Andrew's parents, who were fond of Lorraine, have been harsh on Emily, who took Lorraine's place after they drove her out. I think it's what they deserve. When all the issues like the alimony were settled, I asked Lorraine to go out for dinner. She told me that she was living alone and working at a friend's company. "Since I can't have kids, I've got to be independent," Lorraine said, speaking with such earnest sincerity, showing no hint of terror from that time. You know, that's not quite the right reason to be independent. I disagreed with what Lorraine said. She looked at me in surprise. It was the first time I had ever been so assertive. I noticed that she still wore her wedding ring. It was proof she hadn't forgotten about Andrew. Gathering all my courage, I decided to share with her the words I had been rehearsing since last night. "I don't mind that at all." She looked at me, her face a picture of confusion. I took a deep breath and then asked her to wait until I got a job because I wanted to be Lorraine's boyfriend. Lorraine and I will definitely work out. We've been through the same hardships after all. I'd never hurt you. From the look on my face, she could tell I was dead serious. She lowered her gaze for a moment, then chuckled lightly. "You know, I could be a handful sometimes. I'm well aware of that." I gently traced the back of her hand with my finger. She squinted as if recalling a memory. With a gentle motion, she brushed my finger aside and slowly took off her ring. I felt like it was her way of saying goodbye to her past. Then, her fingers softly touched the back of my hand. Her slender fingers gently caressed the back of my hand. I felt her love flowing into me from the tips of her fingers. "I promise to make you happy. Just wait and see." Lorraine broke into a radiant smile. I swore in my heart to always protect that smile.